like it's all a cow. Like, it just came
At this time, I'll call the April 9th, 2024 York County Council Workshop to order. First order of business tonight is to welcome Josh Edwards. We're so glad to have you here, and second day on the job, already jumping straight into workshops. We all love our workshops, don't we, guys? We're glad that you're here, and I hear you're getting already getting into the meetings. Before we get started, this is not normal. We don't normally pray, but I think it's appropriate to do that. So if we'll just have a quick prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all of the blessings that you give to our county. We thank you for the people that serve on staff and in management. We appreciate the work that they do. We especially want to lift up Linda Norris to you, Lord. She is going through some medical situation now, Lord. You know what she needs to have a complete healing and recovery, and we would ask that you would do that for her and that you would guide the physician's hands and guide the medical professionals to know exactly what to do to get her to full and complete recovery. Lord, we ask that you wrap your arm of love and comfort and protection around her family, and we send her love and best wishes. Dear Lord, we ask you for your wisdom and guidance here tonight as we do the business of the people, that everything that we say and that we do would be to your glory and in the best interest of the people we serve. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
First order of business is an update on capital projects.
So I'll take the first item. The first item we're going to discuss is a coroner's building. Back in November, we had a discussion here at workshop. We awarded a contract for design architectural services. We have an architect here to present essentially the plan we have going forward for the coroner's building on the site that's located actually behind me, behind the family court. So without any further ado, I'll invite Rachel Nilsson up from CPL to present this. And I think you all have the slides so you can follow along.
Rachel Nilsson, architect with CPL. So here to provide an update on the project like Mike mentioned. So first we wanted to start with the floor plan. So as we discussed back in, I think it was November, this could potentially be a multi-phase project. Phase one is really providing the office spaces as well as evidence storage, freezer, cooler, and sally port. And so this is phase one. There is opportunity to add on to this building to include future autopsy if that's so desired. But these are the main functions of the facility for operations. So rolling through a couple of those, there are office spaces, there's a few spaces for growth, but we did downsize some of that from the last time that we met and showed you that initial concept plan. There's education room, conference room spaces. Really big part of this is that kind of second back part of the plan, which is going to be the evidence storage. The cooler, body freezer spaces, some match casualty storage, cart staging, and then the necessary like mud laundry spaces that are kind of necessary for the day-to-day use of this facility.
And one thing to point out, Coroner's been involved throughout this process, so she's very integral to what we've developed. So we have her blessing to move forward.
Yes. Yeah, we've had multiple people from the coroner's office at every one of our design meetings.
And as well as the clerk of court, since this is going to be a neighboring building, we've had discussions with Angie.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Sure.
So it's just to piggyback on that real quick. So they feel the size and what we're delivering is good for now, but
Yes.
it's also opportunity for the future.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Thank you.
And you'll see at the end, the bottom lines, we're staying within our budget. So
Awesome.
So Mike mentioned from the location of it, we had some discussion about this at our last presentation. but it is this kind of purple area behind Family Court, kind of right behind where we are now. Looking at it more in depth, and like Mike mentioned, the clerk of court was involved in both the meetings from a site design perspective as well as the meetings from an exterior design perspective. But what we're looking at is bringing in a new drive. You can see that kind of arrow all the way on the left, bringing in a new drive to allow vehicles to come in with separate security clearance from the drive that is used to access the court sally port. So that court sally port does have a gate right now, and that still maintains the security that it has. But funeral homes or other people coming in to do body pickup, body delivery can come in off this separate drive. There is parking for staff that's secured within that area, but public parking is outside of that, with the parking lot that's more on the bottom side, the bottom right side. The star is the phase 1 building, and then the hatch area, that L-shaped hatch area next to it would be a potential phase 2 part of the building. So it really kind of keeps it all pretty compact and consolidated in that area on the site. The main entry for the building, which we'll show on some of these renderings, is that blue arrow. So that's where the public will be coming in. There are a couple of staff entrances off the secure side of the building, which is the planned north side of the building, where the staff parking is, along with kind of body pickup and body drop off. And then it was really important, again, for us to incorporate that sally port, and you'll see that in some of the designs in a little bit as well. So to really shield any, keep that pretty enclosed, so that from either the sides or the back or the court building, you're really not seeing into that entrance at all.
Is that a drive-through then underneath? So that's
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was one of the areas we worked with the clerk of courts on, so that
Okay.
they wouldn't be, we wouldn't have an issue with them seeing things from their building,
From the building. Okay.
in terms of the business side of the building.
Right. So is it blocked on the other side? So basically, is it hard when they drive through? You can't.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And so I've got a couple of renderings here. This is the entry, so the entry really right here on that corner with a lot of open glass to that lobby space. Staff offices are on the left side of this rendering image. The white box that you see, that's the education room, and that's going to again be used for a lot of different types of public functions. And this is the front part of the building. This is the part of the building that most people will see as they come up to it. The rendering on the bottom is showing really from the drive, the secure drive that accesses the sheriff's area and Sally Port for the court. So you'll see a little bit of this corner as you're coming down the hill from the courthouse, but you're really going to wrap around the building to the other side. This white box that you see in both plans or in both renderings, on the top and the bottom, that is the Sally Port. And so you can see from the top image that we're allowing some light to come through, but really not going to be able to see anything through that wall at all. So it's really providing quite a bit of security and kind of visual obstruction from the inside of that Sally Port. And then that's the drive, that's the pass-through drive that you see underneath there. So it's not fully enclosed with doors, but it would be enclosed from view. And we're looking at, again, we involved the clerk of courts in the discussion around the design of this as well as the materiality of this. So what we're doing from a design perspective is really trying to pull some similar scale features. So the courthouse has a lot of these taller, narrow windows, so really trying to pull that design element. So not trying to match it necessarily, but trying to make sure that they correlate to each other. And then this lighter color brick, this is meant to be two different colored brick. The lighter color brick is meant to kind of play off of the lighter color brick that's on the courthouse as well. And then bringing in a more neutral brown as opposed to the red that's on the courthouse. From a budget update perspective, so overall project budget, 7 million was previously approved by council. The current schematic plan is within budget at 6.84 million to be spent over the next 2 fiscal years. And that's project budget, not construction budget. And then we're still continuing to implement cost-effective solutions so that when we come to bid day, we have those alternates available and we are still remaining within budget as we move through the process. From a schedule standpoint, we are at the end of schematic right now. Our intent is to move into design development next and permit drawings after that. That's where we are currently, and then we're anticipating September 2024 to kind of finish up the permit drawings, construction drawings, with bidding anticipated in September, and then construction about December to December or so. And then from next step standpoint, so really for us it's about finishing those construction documents, still involving the coroner's office throughout the process, especially over the next few months as we get into kind of the details of what types of millwork and casework and flooring and everything like that, those types of details that are in the spaces, and make it really truly operational for them. And then this project will go through the city of Rock Hill for planning and permits, and then we would go to bid and bid award.
What's
It
the-
looks really nice.
Yeah, it does.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, very nice.
What is the rough square footage of phase one?
It's on the one.
I didn't see it actually.
Is it on?
No. It was on the previous one we had.
Yeah, you're right, it's not on here.
Was it
Yeah,
like
we're-
10,000
is it-
square feet?
We're under that. I
It
wanna
was,
say we're eight-
I think when we
8,000
originally
something.
came, it was 9,000 and some change, and now we're at like 8,000, 8,500,
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, so we shaved off some
It's,
square
we have
footage.
reduced based on efficiencies with
Okay. And then the L-shaped phase two, roughly what's the square footage?
Oh, I'll have to double check, I think it's 3,000-ish, 3,000 to
Yeah.
4,000.
That sounds about right.
And again, that's and again, what happens there kind of depends on what you choose to do with that office in the future. But it potentially could include office spaces, autopsy space.
Go on to phase two.
things like
Yeah,
that.
that was my next question. So,
Additional
autopsy.
office space, that phase two would be contingent upon hiring a forensic pathologist or something like that for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? How confident are we that we actually are going to stay within the budget that's set aside for this project?
We feel pretty good about it. We feel very good about it. We are still kind of within those limits. And like I said, we're still looking and making sure that we're making cost-effective decisions as we're moving forward and kind of looking at, we don't like to do full value engineering at the end of the project. We like to look at it from a value analysis standpoint as we're making decisions along the way and just kind of understanding, here are our two options, what's our best value for these two options.
Sounds good?
I'm
No
good.
other questions?
I think
Thank
it
you
looks
very
good.
much.
And then I think I was asked to provide an update on two other items, the new animal control facility and the Moss Justice Cooking Center. For animal control, we had talked to you all previously. We're going to shift from a new construction to a expansion renovation on the current site. We're at a point right now where we're gonna execute a contract for a schematic and a probable cost to look at options on the existing site. That, once we award that, that'll be about 3 months. And then, so probably later this summer, we'll come back to you all with some options in terms of what we can do for 16 million is our budget. And so that'll be a later update on the animal control facility.
Okay.
Under the animal hospital, how many more square feet are we looking to add?
We're
in?
not sure yet. It's really gonna depend on what we need to do in terms of renovation
Okay.
and then the expansion. So if we've got a fixed budget, that's gonna be some trade space there in terms of square footage, so. So we will be able to come back, we'll be able to answer that question later,
Okay.
once we come back with the opinion of probable cost and schedule. So that's the point of this exercise.
Right.
And then on the Moss Justice Center, the sheriff has, he's at capacity in terms of being able to process inmates in the booking center. There are actually 2 booking centers over there. What we're gonna do is due to the increased population, number of booked inmates, since the overcrowded, we're gonna demolish one of the existing booking areas and replace it with a new booking area. It'll be redesigned. And then we're also going to renovate one of the existing booking areas into a medical housing area, which is a need the sheriff has articulated to us, that there's really insufficient capacity to provide medical services in the current facility. So with that, we're going to begin design and development in June. Right now, we have a RFQ that's out. The panel's evaluating. Architects will come back to you all probably early next month, May 6th meeting, hopefully, or maybe the middle, depending on how it goes, to award an architect and then authorize staff to negotiate a fee. And then we'll be moving forward on that. Our budget right now for design is 1.4 million, and then construction's 24.5. That's based on the opinion of probable cost we got, which would be close to $26 million for that entire project. So, obviously, we've been working with Kevin and Trish on financing that project with the sheriff. So,
What was the cost on the animal hospital again?
16 million is what we have in the budget for that right now. And that would be about a 3-year project, the booking center, back to that. We don't know how long the animal control facility will have a better idea this summer. So with that said, pending any questions, that concludes the capital projects.
Any other questions before we move on? Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
Now we have the review of the 2025 budget process and schedule.
Most of this should be a rehash of what we discussed at the first budget workshop. First slide's gonna go with the budget calendar, and we added some clarity to that at the last council meeting. Y'all approved that. This is what y'all approved at the last council meeting. We are right now, the next thing we need to come up with a workshop next Tuesday. We're gonna go over local recreation presentation and the fire budget discussion starting that. I think almost all of you, I believe, were copied on a proposal that came across from the Rec Coalition. So I'm sure we will have plenty of discussions involving that. And provide some feedback now if what I received from the first workshop is incorrect. I did not get a warm fuzzy. A lot of y'all liked the formula that was developed with management and the GIS group. So right now, we're not going to change the current way that fund is funded with the unincorporated millage and the allocation. At this point, I'm going to say is still up in the air. The budget, when it comes to y'all, will basically have the revenues and expenses equaling, and we're going to be going through the process of how that money gets allocated. I imagine through these workshops and through the budget, but we're not trying to make any additional decisions beyond what we presented for a recommendation for a formula at this point in time. We're going to wrap, okay? But we can discuss that in more detail next Tuesday. The process, and we've touched on this, it's really evolving into a year-long process with preliminary meetings with department heads starting in the fall, classes for the budget. We open that stuff up to the elected and appointed official departments this year as well. It's been very helpful, getting much better starting documents from staff to go through and review. We had a meeting today, a productive meeting with the fire service director, and I think he understood the importance of detailing notes. But we're going through every budget, just like we have in the past, trying to make sure we're providing most value to council and to our taxpayers when it comes to what we're going to present you at first reading. Right now, I'll go share this with you. The general fund is in balance without a tax increase. I'll go ahead and skip to this. Right now, it appears every fund is going to be in balance without a tax increase. We met today and we discussed, we went through water and sewer, and went through the landfill. There's going to be a tipping fee adjustment in the landfill. We are still going to be below market on that. But we are making some
That's gone up every year.
shifts of cost on that. The convenience centers before had paid half of the tipping fee cost to the landfill. We've eliminated that. And so we've got some room right now in the convenience centers where we're going through. There might possibly, no promises, but there might possibly an opportunity to decrease that millage. We're still working through it, and hopefully by the middle of next week, we'll have that resolved. And I think most of y'all are aware we've got 10-year plans on all those funds, where we're looking at our fund balance in the future, additional staff, and millage requirements. Right now, the convenience centers are honestly in a very good place. So with that, that's it. Any questions y'all might have, fire away now. We can talk next Tuesday. Again, our goal is to write you all the best budget that we can have at first reading. From there, y'all get to make the decisions on changing, adding, modifying. It's your budget at that point. Traditionally, council has made minor changes. I appreciate that, but y'all always, again, that y'all own the budget and we get the first reading. We've tried to produce you the best product we can at one time. So, any questions?
When do you anticipate having the budget books out to
We're going to
council?
try to get those out Wednesday, the week before. We're moving along fairly well right now with stuff. Maybe earlier, but I don't want to try to.
So
promise
tomorrow?
anything. No, Wednesday before the first reading. Normally, these things used to go out Friday evening before first reading. We're trying to move that up. Right now, our target is the Wednesday before first reading. The first reading, as y'all are aware, is title only. It's always been title only, and we'll keep it that way. So y'all got time to read that book, and we've got other workshops. My phone number, I think all y'all have it. You can call, ask questions or whatnot. It's a circular process. Yeah.
When is first reading?
May
May
6th.
6th, May 6th, right.
So we're not gonna have access to the budget when we do the workshops, the budget workshops?
No, man, y'all never do that.
I know, I think that's it's a lot to digest. That's the only thing. I know that folks that ask me, they get that book like the day before first reading. It can be a lot. Ready?
Do we feel like our strategic plan's gonna have an impact on our budget?
We're segueing into that, right?
We can move into that. I think our goal is to really set this up for next year, related to strategic plan. And I think the focus for summer will be developing consensus around y'all's priorities and how that fits into the strategic plan. I think what we can hope is that the strategic plan can help guide next year's budget. So we've got where we're at right now. So if we think about these retreats and having a clear understanding of where we want to go the next 3 years, and this will help the budget as we develop it, not necessarily this. But as we think about the development of the budget, think about what's most important to y'all, because that's a good brainstorming exercise to think about the strategic plan. And that will help y'all as we get into that mindset. You could also look for time as y'all are in the budget mode, put stuff down on paper to make sure we don't miss what you really want us to focus on. With that in mind, we'll be better set up this time next year to make sure we've got all of y'all's priorities funded and we'll bring that forward. So that's something that we're looking forward to. So what I wanted to do tonight, quickly, was just map out some of the basic building blocks to developing an organizational strategic plan for your town. An organizational strategic plan, that's something that as an organization, we as leaders, you as elected officials, we can use to point towards what we're trying to do in the next 3 years, operation. It's not a visionary plan. We've got the comp plan. We don't need another comp plan. We've got one. This is a 3 to 5 year plan that gets the tactics that we think we need to do to be successful for our community. So tonight, I want to talk about the building blocks and then pick your brain and get a sense of when you all want to try to do this and what works best for your state. I know y'all are busy this time of year with budget, extra workshops, so and then we got vacations coming up hopefully this summer for y'all, so we want to respect that. So why strategic planning? We want to develop that roadmap so we know how to get to where we're going, right? So we can see where we want to get to, but what are the steps that we need to take as an organization to actually get there? We want to map that out for our citizens, but also our employees, so they can get on board with this. We want better use data, so we can point to, show our residents and our employees how we're doing and what we need to do better. So if we're going to improve, we need to know where we're at with data. We need to be able to connect funding, like we just talked about, to the priorities and be transparent with our community on what that looks like. It's a great communication tool. So as we think about how we can better communicate with everybody, internally and externally, using a strategic plan to do that is really important. All right, so just wanted to map out a scenario today. If you want to try to do this in potentially 3 meetings, 3 to 4, and these meetings could happen every other month or one meeting a month, it could be totally up to y'all. These are the types of things we would cover. So there's really, the way I think about it, as I've done a lot of these plans, there's 8 steps to an organization. Here's the first 3. Products and services, what that is what do we deliver our citizens in Lower County? What are those core things we deliver? Why do we exist? What are those core things? We'll talk about our customers, obviously our citizens, but we'll map out all the stakeholders in York County as well. But the key part of this first meeting, if we say we have 3 hours to set aside, is the SWOT. I don't know if y'all are familiar with SWOT, but strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this will make it very easy. And we'll split up into groups of 2 or 3. White paper on the walls. Y'all probably done this exercise before. But what are our strengths as an organization in York County? So we've got to focus on organization, not community. What are our weaknesses internally? Where do y'all want to see us improve? What are those things outside of our organization that can help us achieve our goals? What are those things externally that make our jobs a little harder?
So, as part of the SWOT, though, are we gonna revisit our vision statement?
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's the next meeting.
Oh.
So, on the website, I have found that you're one step ahead of me, and I like that. I hope you always stay one step ahead of me. So, if y'all don't have any questions about SWOTs, I think it's self-explanatory. But the key with the SWOT is we need to make sure any good strategic plan addresses what y'all put forward in the SWOT. So if y'all say we have, there's agreement on the council that we have a certain strength, we really should see that strength mentioned or utilized in the plan itself. So you do a SWOT, we're going to make sure there's consensus, so we're going to ask y'all to prioritize the things up on the board to make sure there's agreement. We're not going to just take everything, because if there's not consensus, we don't want to build a strategic plan on it. So we're going to do the SWOT, and then we're going to use that every step of the development of the strategic plan to make sure we're listening to what y'all said earlier on. All right, so the mission and vision. This can become a time suck, so you've got to be very careful, right? So we're going to discuss the mission and vision in the second meeting if y'all want to do this in 3 meetings, but we also want to make sure we don't try to finalize it. So in each of these meetings, we can touch on it to make sure y'all are improving it or changing it, but we really want to make sure that the key piece of the second meeting is to begin to have y'all draft your goal areas. So we want probably 5, usually they're between 5 and 6 core goal areas in local governments, right? There might be a public safety one, there might be an infrastructure one, there could be a high quality development or some type of growth one, how we're going to handle growth goal, but those are those high level goals. And in that second meeting, after we talk about mission and vision, we want to make sure that the goals connect to your general framework of mission and vision. And we don't want to get caught up in the wordsmithing, because that could take a lot of time. So we're really trying to get through this and put something on paper, and then y'all will refine it as we come back. Any questions on this? All right, third meeting. So if you think about a hierarchy in a strategic plan, you've got these high-level goals, and then you've got 2 more levels down. So you've got, in each goal, you might have 3 or 4 strategies. So a strategy is something that, as an organization, It's either a barrier we have to address to achieve that goal, or something we need to do well that we're not doing well right now. Underneath that, you might have 3 or 4 initiatives, and I'll show you an example of what this could look like. You might have 3 or 4 initiatives under that strategy of what the action items are that as an organization we're going to work on to make sure we achieve the strategy. One of the things here related to this third meeting, and the reason why it's nice to have these either once a month or every other month, is we really want to work with our directors and our staff to think about initiatives. Because they're the experts in the field, we're going to have the ideas on how to achieve the goals and the strategies that we want to have. So we're really going to spend a lot of time talking about the goals and strategies with y'all, and then we'll bring ideas that staff have related to initiatives. And if there's time, measures is really just a way of how are we going to know whether we're being successful or not. So we've got to come up with data points, performance measures, wherever you want to call them, to show ourselves, our community, we're doing what we said we were doing. Is it working? Here's how we know. All right, so here's, strategic planning is all about semantics and putting words on paper. And so the 3 areas that I just talked about, I wanted to make sure you all had definitions. We don't have to go through today, but this is what a goal is, this is what strategy and initiative are. So these are things that we'll work through together to make sure everybody can understand where we're trying to get to. Questions on that?
When you measure the goals though, I mean, from your experience, like, where are you, like, say you throw out your KPIs, right? You measure your goals. So what have you seen traditionally from your experience under like KPIs?
Sure. So what you want to do first, what I always try to do is develop the goals and then the strategies. So what you do is you look at you want to write something that's actionable and measurable. So how you write these things determines how you're able to measure it. And so the KPI really is a function on how well you do in writing and developing these strategies. So this is an example. I know we were going to talk about animal control and animal services, so I pulled this one out from some work I did with one of my previous employers, their animal services department. One of their goals, this is a department, was to maximize safe outcomes for all animals, right? So that's their broad goal. When an animal comes in animal control, how do we do our best to take care of that animal and make sure it finds a new home, right? So the strategy is how do we make sure that those animals that come through the door have the best chance of getting rehomed, right? So that's the strategy. So this is where you would come up with the KPI. So you would say, okay, what % of the animals get rehomed? And you would set a target. And so that's where you really try to push and improve is you would start with a certain target one year. You would try to improve that, whether that be 5% every year, to make sure that you are rehoming the animals. So the KPI is going to really be determined on what we land on in terms of goals. And this is a departmental goal, so an organizational goal would be broader. But if you want to think about it, then you would see these as initiatives here. So in order to achieve this strategy, staff knows we need to do these 2 things, and we think we'll have a better shot at achieving the strategy. So, but you don't measure the initiatives. What you're doing is you're measuring the strategy, because what you're going to be able to figure out is, are these initiatives actually achievable or not? And you would address those initiatives. One of the things we've learned in local government that we used to measure too much, and so what we'll work with y'all on is making sure we're measuring the most important things, because we want to make sure that it's clear to staff, it's clear to our community, here are the most important things, and here's how we're doing. If you measure everything, then you're just measuring the report, you're not actually doing it. Yep. Any questions? Okay. So I'm going to go back. So the one thing we want to talk about tonight is just getting a sense from y'all, getting feedback on what you want to do in your timeline, how we can make this all work.
So I guess my question would be, and we're going to take your lead as far as I'm concerned on how do we do this. You have expertise in this area.
Sure.
What we've typically done in the past is reserve a day or a day and a day and a half. I don't know if,
Yep.
do you find that having 3 separate meetings is better, but to have those transition times is better than doing something like that, as we figure out how to plan. And the only thing that I'll add is that when, council had its meeting with the legislative delegation recently, they gave us some good feedback and shared with us the fact that if there are things that we're going to be asking for of our delegation, we really need to have a plan and we need to have our ask ready before they start session and before they even get motivated. They basically told us, like, in September is when we need to be meeting, late August. September is when we need to have that meeting. So we're going to need to have our strategic plan done if we intend to ask, to have a plan to ask them for things that we need at the county. Those are the two comments.
I think that what I would recommend, I would love a retreat to be focused on this. I didn't know how much time y'all wanted to devote to it. If we have a day retreat, I think we could get through step 6, which I think would be perfect. So we could get as far as we could into strategies. And then what we would do is we would come back with the draft. So we take everything y'all shared and we put it on paper and bring it back at a later meeting, maybe a meeting like this, a workshop. And we'd share with y'all potential initiatives that we got from our directors and our departments. So I think given a day, we can make really good headway and get to about step 6, which I think would be wonderful. And if y'all want to try to do that before we get too far in the summer, then I think, yes, definitely we could have a good, strong strategic plan for y'all to finalize come late August, early September.
I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I would personally, it's easier to have one day devoted to it, but I don't know what folks' schedules are like, and I'm all for the sooner, the better.
Sure.
Yeah, I like breaking it up a little bit. The only reason why I would say, because once we knock out the strategies, I think it's good to have a little space between strategies and initiatives around there, because you have to kind of absorb it a little bit and think about it. So that would be my feedback.
I completely agree. But because initiatives are going to be much more specific, so I think
Yeah.
y'all will find value in just kind of thinking on where you landed in terms of strategies.
Yeah.
One thing I would recommend that we add to this is, maybe the first meeting is not, products and services. Maybe the first meeting is just, since you're new, is maybe kind of getting to know each other a little better. And that maybe is that 2 hour and a half, 2 hour meeting where you hear from different council members. We all have very different initiatives. So when we get into a room and we're all trying to figure out what that strategic plan looks like, I think we're going to find there are a lot of different goals from different representatives, different communities, just different districts. I think things are going to differ, so I think just something that's more, something that's just more people oriented as a start to the plan. It would be I'm certainly, able to come and meet with you on my own and bring a few constituents and that kind of thing. But I just don't think we all ever have an opportunity to really sit down and talk about what's important to us in our areas. And that's very important to me, that people understand, literally where I'm coming from, and I'd like to know more about where, other council members are coming from.
So I think something that happens when you get a good SWAT is some of those things rise to the top. And then there would be opportunity for y'all to discuss that with each other. Right? And those differences, we can talk through those as well. But I think what we're trying to do is get two goals that are broad enough that then as an elected body, y'all can work through those together and say, okay, here's a goal. We need to build out, we need to make sure we have the infrastructure we need for our community. How do we do that? What are those core things we need to do? And then there's an opportunity for y'all to talk through those things together once you land on that goal. But I like your idea, let's get some stuff out there as part of this first day with the SWAT. Staff, we can develop the products and services and what we think are the stakeholders, and just bring that to the first meeting for y'all, and y'all could react to the list, so we don't spend too much time on that, if you want to save a little time. And then we can get as far into this as possible, I think we can get at least through 6. So I think we can do a little bit of everything.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I guess to your point though, I guess the way I was looking at this though is that really the strategy meeting is really our third, it's based on what you have here, our third meeting. I think it really extends into a 4th meeting and a 5th meeting, right? Because I think there needs to be some separation, but to this first meeting agenda, I think that's where you were layering your concerns and thoughts around how we can talk through it. But also I guess, and you're probably gonna do this too, but the other things is going across all the different departments and understanding where their feedback's been from the community, and also bring that to that meeting.
That's right. Yeah, so when I did the 3 meetings, this is just what's worked in the past, where I split it into 3-hour meetings, but if we have a day retreat, we don't necessarily have to do 3-hour meetings.
Right.
We can do a day retreat, and then maybe 1 meeting later, to kind of come back and finish. So what we would do in advance of that meeting is work with departments to give, the type of information that's going to help inform you all as you start to do a SWAT. So yeah, there'll be some pre-work that we do to provide that, so you all have a better sense of what departments are doing. But the big goal for me, what I think is going to be the biggest positive impact for the organization is, after this is done, working with individual departments to help them do departmental strategic plans. And so they're going to be spending time with directors after this is done over the next year, trying to make sure that their departments are focused on the things that are prioritized in this plan, and also the other things that they know they need to do, but they'll have individual departmental plans too. So that will come afterwards.
I have a suggestion on timing. I was looking at our budget calendar. Thank you, Kevin. And so our last meeting is June the 17th on our budget. And for me, I'm kind of I got to get this done. Now I can start on this.
Sure.
But if you muddle it, you're going to get half of me. I want to give you all of what is bottled up inside of me. That's a warning. Okay, so after June 17th, I think would be our 1 day. What do y'all think?
I hear what you're saying on that. I just think waiting that long is gonna put us in a pinch. If we're talking about folks have gone summer vacations in July. We're basically leaving ourselves. All we're leaving is half of June and July. We kind of need to know.
This budget calendar, I'll point out, is a little different than the past. The 3rd meeting and the 2nd meeting in June. We had it normally the 1st meeting in June. Y'all could still change that as well if you want to give yourself more time for this. That, you have the flexibility to control the schedule of the 3rd annual budget.
I think what I hear you saying is that our local delegation has asked for us, and we asked them, when should we be meeting with you? And they said in the fall, August, September. So you're trying to accomplish this before we have a chance to stand with them, so we can share with them what our ask is.
I think that's
We're
what
going
we
in
have to
prepared.
do. Right.
So you're concerned that we wouldn't have enough time to complete that work. Is that right?
I do think that's going to be a
I
problem.
think that's a legitimate concern.
And I can agree that once we have y'all's first meeting, we're going to need a month to really make sure we put on paper what we heard and then work with directors in the shortest amount of time. So that's going to be a pretty quick turnaround. So the more time we have this summer to refine it, to get it done. So conceivably, if we meet late May-ish or early June for a retreat, we'll have that time to really have something put together come July to have that one additional meeting with y'all. That's still kind of close to get it done come August, September. So So I hear you. I do think waiting past budget season might put us, it'll be hard to pull together this summer.
I'm not gonna be available late May and early June. I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that.
You got
Yeah,
4
exactly.
people in an election,
Yeah,
June the 11th,
so maybe we shoot for something right after that. I don't know.
or whatever, June not, I don't know. What day is it?
Or
June.
May, I mean, early May.
No, June, the election. I mean, the primary.
Right.
June the 11th is the primary.
Right.
So
So, I mean, that's,
what if we all, I mean, and I know, because this is kind of piggybacking off what you were thinking about, because from each of our districts, we're gonna be bringing stuff from each of our districts, right? So, and I'm just brainstorming on this, but what if we all got that stuff together and sent it to you prior to our meeting? So you can look at this and categorize it and understand what our asks are.
Sure.
You
No, that'd be
know?
helpful.
Yeah, and then from there, we'd have more constructive conversations.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Yeah.
I think one thing I was telling Tom too, I think one of the things that's happened to us over the last few years, and I've been on council for a little over 7 years, and I think one thing that's happened to this council is that we have been far too involved in day-to-day operations of the county. So I think that first block where y'all present as the county, where, y'all present the products and services, that's what y'all need to do. That's not us, but what I want you to do is hear what's important to each council member. And I know you're probably thinking that's like in the weeds compared to the big overall things, but it maybe is and it's maybe not, but I think that's important. But I do feel like the products and services, that needs to be presented by county manager. That's not our job to do that. And then who the customers are, I feel like the customers that's both of our jobs. We've all got customers that elect us to do a job, and that job is to hold y'all accountable as the county. We're here to be sure that taxes are kept low and that we've got the proper, infrastructure and those things. So step 2 is all of us, and then from there we just massage it all. But I feel strongly that the products and services, that's your ball. And we've been, we have been, some of us are worn out, and we've been way too involved in day-to-day operations of York County. And that's my opinion. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but.
Like I said, we're gonna spend almost no time on these 2 things, we're gonna spend all the time on this one thing, the SWAT. The one thing I would, I know y'all wanna talk about priorities for each of your districts, but we've got to be very careful to make sure that we get these goals first before, so what you wanna do is agree on these broad areas that we're trying to achieve together. And then, we can get more specific. But if you get too specific too soon, we're never going to land on broad goals.
I agree. What I was asking for was more of a communication between council members as far as the district
good.
goals.
No, that's great.
That's not even, because really the counties, y'all aren't really concerned with district goals. That we do in individual votes and in decisions and things like that. But I think as a council, I don't think we're all fully aware of those district goals, and they're very important.
Josh, let me ask a quick question. I'm guessing you've been through a strategic planning process a couple of times with county governments, city governments. And has this process worked to get to the outcome you're looking for?
Yes, it's worked because we've come back and we've talked and then we've listened and then we've brought back what we've heard. And I think that's what the value add has been is once y'all go through one of these meetings and you share and we put it on paper, and then we as staff go back to our offices and we make sure we put together a draft. That next meeting, when you all start to see what it's beginning to look like, there will be aha moments. And I think that's what's really worked with this is spending time together and then delivering on a deliverable that y'all can begin to see your vision on paper and what that looks like. I think will bring aha moments to the table. And then you'll get to see what staff are focused on to achieve those goals. And I think that's going to be really cool too. But every place I've been, I've helped pull these together. In Durham, we did multiple plans, and so we were updating the plans, and that becomes easier when you're doing an update. The first plan's always the hardest, right? And so I know you all have had goals in the past from 2019, so this is an opportunity to kind of put a new spin on things. It'll be much broader and then give you the opportunity to kind of speak into where you want us to be focused in those broader areas. I've seen this work in every place I've been, and it's a simple way to just make sure we're talking with each other, we're listening to y'all, and we're putting on paper kind of what y'all want us to be focused.
So there's confidence in the process because you've been through it.
Yep.
Okay. So do you recommend that we split it up in 3 meetings, 4 meetings? What are you suggesting so that we get the best possible outcome?
I think the number of meetings is less important than the steps, right? So I was just trying to make this as digestible as possible. If y'all want to do 3-hour meetings, but if we can do one-day retreat, I think what we can do is 2 meetings. We'll do a day retreat, and then a month and a half later, we'll come back after working with staff, and we'll put something out there and see what y'all think. I think that could be.
Okay.
And that's when we're coming back to around step 6, right?
Yep, exactly. So we would make it through, we would get as far as step 6 as possible, then that next meeting we'd come back, y'all would revisit where we landed with strategies, and we would make updates after we had time to think about it, and then we'd show potential initiatives and kind of hammer out those initiatives.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of when y'all want to have that one-day retreat, where we're at.
So we think of May or June.
This is important enough to me that I'll make myself available. I don't know if the only day that we're looking at, what we've done in the past, Josh, is we did like a half of a Friday so that folks had work schedules, and then we did a half of a Saturday.
Mhm.
I mean, if we do one whole day, probably the only day that's gonna work is a Saturday, and a commitment from everybody that we can find a day to do that.
So we could do a half and a half, that would work too, for sure. Friday, Saturday, if we wanted to.
I know we have all have a lot going on. You like a
I like the Friday and Saturday personally.
Friday afternoon, Saturday.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon, Saturday morning.
So we don't kill 2 days.
Yeah, because it's right.
Do we wanna look at calendars now? Let's talk through that so that we can get something down.
Well, I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna be here May 1st. May 1st is on Wednesday. We have Mother's Day and Cinco de Mayo. Memorial Day.
What about the 26th and the 27th? The end of
May.
April, we won't have a meeting on the 29th because that'll be a new, it's one of those months where you have an extra Monday, so we wouldn't have a meeting. I'll just throw those out there.
out of office on the 26th.
Yeah, that was the closing for my house. in Athens.
Okay, well, we can't, I guess we can't interrupt that. We need you to find a place to live.
I don't want to.
Um, Third and fourth,
The 3rd and 4th are working.
3rd and 4th of May.
that works for me.
I did find that was and for the first day
I think the 3rd and 4th is probably better because the next weekend will be Mother's Day weekend. Not that it is the whole weekend. What about the 3rd and the 4th?
I think I'm good with that.
Where? Here, York? I just need to look at availability.
I prefer York.
York?
Can you get it done before time?
I can get here.
Well,
I can come.
you're gonna do an afternoon.
You won't be here?
I mean,
Yeah, but we gotta drive out there twice. I mean, Friday afternoon and Saturday. I'd rather get it.
I don't like the vibes here.
Let's see, tax day is
I just
the
think, I don't think it's, I just like the vibes at York. I think it's more professional, it's nicer, it just, to me, I don't know, that's just my
Fine with wherever
opinion.
it is. I just think we need to do it sooner and give us time to change it, fix it, update it. Because I think you're gonna have some challenges, I think, with what Allison's saying. I think we do have folks with different,
Well, let's have a day like
very
this.
different, ideas about how to do things and how do we how do we coalesce? We may need to build in extra meeting after. But I do think we can't waste time because of, or we're gonna lose a year of an ask to the delegate. That's important. That's important to us.
Are you guys all good with getting like your needs that you feel like, maybe high level needs to Josh before the meeting?
Most definitely.
Okay.
If that's what Josh wants.
It was very helpful.
Yeah.
Some context, and I can shape the facilitation a little bit well.
Christy, this room is not available on the 4th, so it would have to be in York.
Okay.
If those are the days you're doing.
Bless you.
Just
What's here on the 4th?
get your lead foot out.
VRE, registration and elections.
Okay.
Oh, you
Said
want?
my birthday.
I mean,
So you won't be here Thursday before. You won't be gone Thursday.
So now what are we looking at?
Now we look at after.
10th and 11th?
That's Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. but
Yeah.
then
I'm not doing anything, I don't have to be here for it, I can listen to the recording, I can get my stuff to Josh. I won't be here until after the election, I have no time until after 3 o'clock. Zip time. Count your blessings.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's a-
So then we could look
It's a very
at June
real fact.
14th and 15th.
That's Flag Day.
No?
Yeah, I'm gonna be out of town.
Management will be at a conference.
All right, we see, but if it don't
Okay, we're just-
21st, 22nd?
Allison, you can't go to either one of those days? I mean, can
Either
you
one
be
of
there
those
for
days.
like the if we did something May, whatever it was, May 3rd and 4th, could you be there for the morning of the 4th? If the SWAT stuff is handled on the Friday?
I don't have a calendar, my calendar's not in my phone, so I don't know. I've got stuff every weekend.
when is Mother's Day?
Yeah.
What about June 21st and the 22nd? And then we
That's
get back
really
together
pushing
in
it
July. Get back together in July.
And July's gonna be
Then have the
difficult for me.
information in August.
Once we get into that.
I- If you did something in June, I say we suck it up and do it one day, rather than ruin 2 days. Because that is the summer, you got the weekend, you wanna do stuff with your family. I say we do it one day.
Well, Josh is saying it has to be in 2.
Well, no,
He didn't say that.
Well, we'll do as much as we can in one, yeah.
Right.
in one day.
And then
And
we'll
then
come
the
back
second time, you
Yeah,
come back
So you're
like in a
saying
month.
instead of breaking
Well,
it
then we could do that
to
at
have
the-
Jazz do it.
Right, it wouldn't have to be the second meeting.
No, I'm just saying that big major thing, just do one day,
All damn summer.
get it over.
So you need about 6 hours to get through.
Let's do
stats,
this.
6 or
We
7.
have when's our next scheduled workshop that's on the calendar? Is May 7th? No, second Tuesday?
Well, for a regular workshop,
took our-
it would be
took our
May
regular workshop
14th,
that day.
But if you're talking about a budget workshop, we have another one coming up.
They took the May 14th date, so we're not even gonna have a regular workshop day available in May.
Mhm.
I think if we start in June, we'll do all we can to get this thing done this summer. We'll be hustling a little bit. So I think it's I want to make sure everybody's part of this, so whatever we need to do.
Well, let's do
work hard.
June the 14th and 15th. Did you say you can't do that?
And
Management's out of conference.
They're going fishing.
And they're on conference, she said.
Well, what days can we look at after
No,
June?
no.
I mean, y'all, I really think it's important we could get this down. You see how hard this is.
21st.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
June,
No, you cancel that, you come and help and pay for it. How about that? Huh?
so Tom, can you, the only time you feel comfortable about taking a whole day would be on a Friday in June, a Friday? Or could you do another day as a whole day?
I mean, I guess, you know, if I'm gonna take a half day, I guess I could take an entire whole day on a Friday, I guess. You know, I'm gonna- you know,
So you're saying do half and half?
so I don't know.
Half and half? Are you saying do half and half rather than just suck it up and do one day?
Well, I mean, if the consensus is we want to do it on a Friday, I could take the whole day off.
Let's go
How about the
back.
21st?
Friday the 3rd.
21st
The 21st?
of June.
That, yes, that would be after your big fishing trip.
Friday, what are you saying? You're nodding your head?
We're trying to find a Friday in June, so it
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah,
like- so
a Friday in
conceivably
June.
The first Friday we could all do is the 21st of June. So the
Yeah, I
question would
could
be,
probably do 21st of June.
Okay, so no fishing.
They're not here. Is that when they're not here?
no, we're back.
No, that's not, that's,
So I think we shoot for that.
It's
and
the
if-
longest day of the year, we might need it.
The what?
So we're gonna do a 6-ish.
On the
hour.
21st?
Well, wait a minute, we do have June,
The 17th.
the workshop date.
That's a Monday, though.
No, workshops are on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
June the
June
17th
17th is on Monday.
is a Monday
That's a budget workshop.
That's the third.
as a budget workshop.
Yeah, I'm saying,
That's-
do we
that's-
have a
that's-
No,
workshop?
that's third reading.
That's when y'all.
I guess
Yeah,
June.
That's the third reading.
June 11th. Is that the election day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So June 21st.
The only way to have
I mean,
everybody here is
June 21st.
let's just shoot for
21st,
June
22nd.
Okay,
21st and
let's have a
22nd.
December.
Let's nail it down.
Okay. We're nailing it down.
And then
All
we'll,
day in York.
All day, let's do it. Come on, guys, we can do this. One day.
Does anybody want to check with Bob?
Oh, but
Bob.
we do have our dear friend Bob. Okay, contingent on Bob.
well, I think we plan on, we'll email and make sure it's on his calendar. and then
Yeah,
if we can't,
21st.
then we'll reevaluate it. We see how hard this is going just to get it.
We need lots of
What are the
coffee,
times gonna
lots
be?
of
Like 10 to
food,
4 or-
lots of Cokes and
We can do
Diet
10
Cokes
first, but-
and Smiles.
No, I mean, I
Early?
could do,
Like
yeah,
nine.
if we're gonna take the day off, I'm gonna do your
Why
I think
y'all
we
gonna
should-
start at 10 o'clock?
Let's start at
We
9.
Start at 7 o'clock.
9 o'clock,
9. Tom, you'll be here at 4:30, right?
Breakfast at 8 started.
yeah, there you go, breakfast at 8, start at 9.
We'll work on an agenda.
I'll be a little late, but I'll be there.
Okay.
We'll work on an agenda, we'll get that going. We got plenty of time to get you an agenda, so everybody knows.
What's the
what
date?
to do.
The 21st of June. Breakfast at 8, start at 9.
Bless you.
Thank you.
All right,
All right.
All right.
I got one thing I want to
Thanks,
bring up.
y'all. Appreciate it. We'll get this thing done this
Looking
summer.
forward to it.
It'll be good.
21st,
Everybody will be there.
8,
Hey, I made Nate bring in
Yeah.
fresh trout.
And if y'all don't come after we said it when we did, I'll be reminded.
I'm writing this down, breakfast.
remember to put
No
that
worries. I got
in.
one other thing I want to bring up right quick. Josh, since you're on board, really, not necessarily tonight, but I'd like your input on this. So, this council has not talked about what was passed in 2016, the 4.4 mills. And for the record, I consider myself to be a conservative, but I also feel like that when you're collecting tax money from the taxpayers, and you started that in 2016, number one, the council from 16, just like the council from 2024, can't commit the council of 2032 to anything. 16 didn't necessarily commit us to something in 2024. you look back at 2016 to compare it to 2024, the economy is completely different than it was in 2016. The needs of York County are different. I'd just like to say that before we go too public saying that we're doing nothing with the 4.4 mills, that we take a close look at our needs. This strategic plan is going to look at the needs for 25-26. But before this goes away, I think we should take a look at, water and sewer needs, parks, recreation needs, roads, green space, economic development, and more. There are things that we might ought to take a look at to see if it makes sense to continue to invest in York County with these monies and do it intentionally. So I'd like, not tonight, I think we're just told, so I would like your opinion on this at some point in time.
Okay. And maybe at
Before-
a future budget workshop, we talk about kind of where this has been and why, what these funds are associated with.
Yeah, and
what kind
I'll
of
just
debt.
to a point, y'all voted last year's budget to pay the debt. And that is a millage that, if you want to budget with y'all, it's your Spanish. Y'all don't need to say it's Dutch Troy, that's the auditor. The millage, there's millage available well beyond the 4.4 for council to do whatever the majority of y'all want to do with it. You will be presented management's budget just as I've done in the past 8 times or whatnot. Y'all are the ones that ultimately vote on that and decide. The majority of y'all want to take 10 mills and do whatever y'all feel is best for the county. That's your prerogative, that's your right to do for it. So I mean, you're going to be presented a budget by management, but the way I was looking at the first reading is like at the time things change between the third lane and fourth lane. The fourth lane has to be home. Y'all make the decisions and, the priorities y'all got, and I know that a variety of y'all have individually told me I'd like to use the money for this or that. Collectively, 4 of y'all would have to decide that this is a priority and make a decision. Y'all are elected to decide, whether or not y'all have a better use for that money than, giving it all back to taxpayers. But it's 2 separate buckets, and I don't want you to think the debt service millage as something you're now going to give away. The debt's going to be paid off, that millage goes away. You have the ability, and because of what we've done on taxes, you have quite a bit of taxes you can raise in the general fund if y'all, as a majority, want to do something. And, we've not had the luxury of a strategic plan to come up with something, but between now and third reading, y'all, 4 of y'all might develop a plan. That's your prerogative, and that's what you're elected to do. So that money, those millages are there for y'all to use if the majority wants to come up with a plan.
Yeah. So I guess just to piggyback on what Watts was saying, I think that, and I guess this is more of an education question for me, Kevin, in regards to this, is that, at the end of the day, we are going to be giving a tax break to the public. Okay, we definitely have it coming, and it's coming down the road. My question is the size of it. And if we came back with a tax break of 3.4 as opposed to 4.4 mils, then if we did that, would we still be paying off the debt and
Debt's
start
done.
coming?
The debt's paid off.
It's gone, yeah, it's gone. Okay, so, all right, so that answers my question. The debt's gone.
Yep.
Okay, so, all right, so to your point, Watts, is that I think that this requires further discussion because, again, at the end of the day, I think we're going to deliver a tax break no matter what. I think it then comes down to what is that millage of the tax break. And I think it may be all 4.4, or maybe there's something that really stands out that it ends up being, 3.9. That's what.
At this
And the
point, we
budget
haven't
that
even
you're
seen the
gonna-
budget, so.
It's in line with every budget I've presented to this council, and the focus is providing this value to the taxpayers. And that's how I've approached every budget, this was no different. Now, let's say hypothetically 4 of y'all want to go out and buy 100 acres in somebody's district and put up a 1,000-home mobile home park for $4,000. 4 of y'all can do that. You can do that. And when we go through this budget, I would just encourage, I wouldn't rush to anything right now with where we're at. My second budget is where we went in there and we raised taxes. I remember some council members really had a lot of stress with that. We had to put in place the reserve fund we had to maintain our capital maintenance. That was 3.9 mil tax increase. I'm not afraid of a tax increase at all. I've always took the perspective of you have to be able to justify what you do to taxpayers. You know, same thought process, Tom, you're gonna go through. If you think that it's better to keep a mill and use it for this, that, and the other, you're not gonna do that, try to hide it. You're gonna be able to explain why you think it's the right thing to do. Same thing we did back in 17, when we raised the taxes to put in place the capital reserve fund and to set some money aside to pay the debt off, as well as fund York County Forever. I think most of y'all forgotten it. We put $250,000 to York County Forever in my first budget as well to get that regoing. Nobody in here is afraid of raising taxes. It's just being able to justify it. And I think, you know, we're at the 11th hour here now, so I think as a group, y'all got to make sure y'all form consensus. Y'all form a consensus, it's a plan we execute for management.
And where I would go with it is, what are the infrastructure needs of York County? So let's talk about those infrastructure needs, and then where we go from there is, how do we pay for them?
Here we go.
And
That's
I think it's important to make sure that we deliver on the infrastructure for our citizens. And I think the strategic plan will begin those conversations, and the goal will be, you know, to be clear, what are we trying to deliver in terms of infrastructure moving forward, and what are the funds we need to do that, once we get through this. So I think that might be the process, that we're wanting to first get a clear sense. Because if you look at our CIP, we've got the buildings we know we need to work on, but it's not necessarily focused on the strategic future of York County. And so we've got to kind of build upon our CIP and make sure that we're not leaving anything on the table in 10 years wishing we would have done something that we would do. Because we didn't do it, we don't have the same opportunity.
Well, I think we have an opportunity here to deliver a tax rate, plus maybe apply something towards infrastructure, right? That, you know, what, maybe not, maybe they make sense to all of the tax rate, but if there's a, you know, if you can get two things, infrastructure, additional infrastructure, and a tax break at the same time, that's a win-win.
Keep that conversation.
I'll also reach out to our delegation and ask them for some dates in late August and September, and then we can circulate a doodle poll. So if we get that date nailed down, do something here in York County and invite them. At least we need to start working on that.
And just one comment, Kevin. I think from my perspective, since I brought this up tonight, I have been patiently waiting for Josh to get here because I didn't feel like this was something that really needed to be brought up before he got here. So ironically, yesterday was your first day, today's your second. I felt like it was the time to bring it up. Could we have brought it up a month or two ago? Yes, 3 months ago. But I didn't think that was the appropriate time to bring this up. So I hate to put this in your lap, but I think the taxpayers elected us to make difficult decisions and be a little bold with what we're doing as visionaries for York County. And for this county to move forward, unfortunately, it takes an investment some way, somehow. And I'm not saying necessarily that we need to take the 4.4, a piece of the 4.4. I don't know the answer to that yet. I think we have due diligence ahead of us to make that determination.
All right, unless somebody has any other questions, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you.